In this video I paint a Disciples of Tzeentch Acolyte in the Burning Eye colour scheme. Hello, this is Craig from bitbox.co.uk with another painting tutorial for you. So as I said in the intro, I'm painting a Disciples of Tzeentch Acolyte and we are using the Burning Eye colour scheme. This is like a Pyrophane Splinter cult, so I think they're sort of based off the Pyrophane cult colour scheme. If you notice, the two colour schemes are quite similar. So whether you are painting your acolytes in this scheme or the Pyrophane cult scheme, you can use this tutorial for either or. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay, so here is our acolyte from the Disciples of Tzeentch. He has been undercoated in a light grey primer. So we're going to start off by painting the skin areas, and we're going to take some Cadian flesh tone, and we're going to thin this out just a little bit and do a couple of thin smooth coats. Just get a really nice finish on the skin. Skin is one area where you really do need to do a couple of thin coats. If you put it on too thickly, you'll certainly lose a lot of the detail, and there's quite a lot of sort of muscular detail on these miniatures. So you don't have to be neat at this stage. You can just go around and just apply it all over these flesh areas, and then once you've got a couple of nice smooth coats, the next stage is shading the miniature. So we're just going to take some Reichland flesh shade. I don't think I thin it out at all here, so you can if you wish, but just spread it around as evenly as you can. Make sure it gets into all them muscles, so it really brings out the definition in them. So I'm just working my way around, making sure I get all these skin areas and try to avoid it pooling up too much. So now that is dry, we're going to take some Kislev flesh and we're going to layer this over the skin. So I'll just try and adjust the position. I found this one quite awkward to film, but we're just going to layer this over all the raised areas. See, I'm just keeping some areas still of the Cadian flesh tone, so it's sort of a highlight, but just a bit thicker than a normal sort of edge highlight. And again, this has been thinned out, so it won't dry as stark. And as you can see now, it's dried. It doesn't look as bright against the Cadian flesh tone. So now we're going to take some flayed one flesh, and this is going to be just a finer highlight. So literally just catching the top of the abs, and we'll just run it along the sort of top edges of most of the muscles as well. Of course, we'll also do it along the fingers, on knuckles, to bring out the definition in them. You'll notice I haven't painted the feet yet, and you'll see why in a little bit. So with that, skin areas are done, so we're now going to take some pink horror. So this will be for the feet, and also painting up the leg and on his back as well. So this is essentially like war paint that they have in this colour scheme. So if you look at the artwork in the Disciples of Tzeentch book, you'll see that these guys have like this pink war paint on their legs and also sort of going up their torso. So I'm just applying it to all the legs here, and originally I wasn't going to. You can really mix it up between acolytes. You can have some flames going up their legs in this war paint. For this one I'm going to have like flames going up his back. Now I found them a little bit tricky to paint, and with so much sort of muscle definition going on his back, they don't show up too great. It's quite hard to sort of get them right, so I do apologise if they end up looking a bit terrible in this tutorial, but hopefully you guys get the gist of it. Just keep the paint thin and just try and paint some sort of flame patterns. So next we're going to take some Emperor's Children, and we're just going to sort of highlight these. So going with the flames, I'm sort of doing it towards sort of the middle and sort of along one edge. You don't have to sort of highlight this war paint if you don't want to. In hindsight it might look a little bit better flatter, but it sort of adds a little bit more sort of interest to it. Makes it look a little bit more interesting and not so flat. With the legs, I do recommend just doing the highlights just as you did with the skin. Just hitting the tops of all the muscles there. You could highlight the flames on the back in a similar way as well if you so wish. So yeah, we're mainly sort of just layering this up and just keeping that colour, the dark colour in the recesses. And next we're going to take some Fulgrim Pink. This is an edge paint. And this is going to be like a sort of sharper highlight. So obviously hit all the toes. You can hit all the higher points of the muscles, just doing thin lines of this. These paints are quite thin, so you don't have to thin them out. The edge paints are quite well designed. With the flames, I would probably, in hindsight, recommend not really using this colour so much. I did use it a little bit, but I don't think it was really needed. And here, it went on a little bit messy, so I sort of wiped that away. But yeah, it don't look too bad. The sort of lighter colour does help bring out the shape of the flames. If there is much shape going on there, they didn't come out too great, as I said, but yeah, once it's done, I've got some on the front as well. They don't look too bad. It's really up to you how you do the flames on the torso. So next we're going to go with the gold areas, and we're going to take some Retributor armour. So this is all like the armour trim, his mask as well, and any other bits that you wish to paint gold. There's some things hanging on his tabard. Of course, it's going to vary from miniature to miniature which pieces that you have be painted gold, but they're all going to be painted in exactly the same way. I'm going to do the base of his sword as well. So once you've got a nice layer of that, I'm going to take some Seraphim Sepia. And I haven't thinned this down either, we're just going to stick it all over the gold. You don't want to pull up too much, so I'll just use my brush just to wipe some of that away. I find it easier to paint the gold trim areas on the armour before you paint the actual armour itself. So next we can take some Sycorax Bronze. This is because I just didn't want the gold to be too bright. Painting it with the Retributor armour, painting them with that does leave quite a nice bright gold, which is good if that's what you want, but I just wanted just to bring it down a little bit. So here I'm using Sycorax Bronze just to bring down the highlights. But of course, if you want a nice bright gold, you could use Uruk Armour Gold, I think it's called, and that'll give you a nice brighter gold. So we're just sort of just taking it down just a bit here. And again, I'm just doing just sort of normal edge highlighting for a lot of this. So now that the gold areas are done, we can move on to the next part of the miniature, which is going to be the armour plates. So we're going to take some Incubi Darkness. So I've thinned out a little bit, and we're just going to fill in these armour plates. We'll need a couple of thin coats here. Keep the paint thin at this stage because you'll find it a lot easier just to flow into this area, and you'll find you won't get it on the gold areas as easy. So after a couple of coats, we're now going to take some Iron Breaker, and we're going to paint the metal areas. So the reason I'm doing the Iron Breaker now is that we're going to wash both these areas in the next step with the same colour. So I thought, just to speed things up a little bit, we'll paint all the metal areas, which is essentially the blade. The two blades, I should say. I think that is actually it for this colour. So now both these areas can be washed, as I said earlier, with some Nuln Oil. So this is just to darken down this green area just a little bit, and that'll just give us a nice dark colour in the recesses. And of course with the blades, that'll darken them down a little bit and give them some good shading to really bring out the detail. So next we're going to go back to our Incubi Darkness and just reapply that to these armour plates. Just bring the colour up a little bit more, but we're going to leave a little bit just around the edges, so that'll give us a nice sort of dark sort of shadow in the recesses. So next next up we're going to take some Stormhost Silver, and this is to highlight the metal areas. So you can just sort of run just along the tip of the blade there, like so. And also just very carefully just run your brush across the middle of the sword. A lot of the Acolytes have this sort of sword, so they'll all be painted very similarly. So the next step is to do all the black areas. So this includes his tabard at the front. He has a few little straps and the sheath for his dagger as well. And just very carefully work your way around these areas. We've got these little bits on him as well that we're going to paint black. We have his belt also. So all these black areas I just painted with Avalon black, and of course I've thinned that out as that will make it easier to apply. So next we're going to take some Skaven Blight Dinge. I thought I'd just try a different grey for the highlight here. Usually I'd use Eshin Grey, but I thought Skaven Blight Dinge will just... It has that sort of slight hint of like a browny blue or something in it. It's just slightly different from Eshin Grey. I thought that looked quite nice. It works well as a highlight. Any dark grey or even a very dark blue would work very well for your highlights for these grey areas. So next we're going to paint his tabard, and we're going to take some Celestia Grey. So if you paint the Pyrophane cult rather than the Burning Eye, I think that some of these colours are sort of mixed up between them. So not necessarily will you be painting like the tabard in white. You might the skirt in white, I should say. You might paint the tabard in white, or the armour. I think they got black armour with a white tabard and black skirt. I'm going to call it a skirt. So next we're going to take some Ulthuan Grey, as I stop babbling about the scheme. And we're just going to apply this over most of the skirt, and just leaving the Celestia Grey in the recesses. You might want to do a couple of thin coats of this to get a nice smooth finish. And finally we're going to take some white scar, and we're just going to run this along the tops of all these folds as a highlight. Now you can also take the white scar to paint his toenails, fingernails, and also his eyes if you so wish. So it's a bit hard to see on the camera, but the white balance seems a little bit high there, but yeah, we're just applying this just to the raised areas. And here we have the finished Acolyte miniature. So quite simple to paint really, and quite enjoyable to paint. I really like these miniatures. I've had them for quite a while now, and I'm hoping to paint some more for my army. As I said, you can mix up some of these colours if you want to do the Pyrophane cult rather than the Burning Eye. Just swap over the colours, and check the artwork in the Disciples of Tzeentch book for that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial, and as always, if you have, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you want to keep up to date with all our painting tutorials, you can hit that subscribe button, and there's also a little bell icon next to that which will notify you as soon as a new video goes up on the channel. So all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching, thanks for all your support, and I'll see you all again in the next video.